Welcome to Elevate Springfield, where we will dive into strategies and stories that help you rise to your full potential. Each episode, we'll talk about how you can take intentional steps to elevate your life and your business while making a meaningful impact on those around you. Along the way, we're going to bring in the change makers from our community that are already elevating. We'll bring the actionable strategies, you bring the discipline and follow through, and together we can elevate Springfield.
All right, let's go, Springfield. Time to 10X, time to level up. Hey, you are listening to the Elevate Springfield podcast, coming to you from the Big Dog Construction Studio in beautiful downtown Springfield. Robert Ferriell here, certified 10X coach, speaker, and mentor, here to bring you actionable strategies. You bring the discipline and follow through, and together we're going to elevate Springfield. Well, hey, you are listening to the Wellness Upgrade on Elevate Springfield, where we're going to bring you specific strategies to help elevate your health and wellness. Hey, if you're not elevating your health and wellness, you're not going to be able to elevate in all other areas. This is the baseline. You know I'm passionate about it, and you know that's why I brought this segment to Elevate Springfield. We want to thank our friends over at Shudokan Karate Club here in Springfield. Sensei Dennis and his team, over 50 years in the Springfield area. Traditional karate, teaching self-discipline, confidence, community. Traditional, powerful, real. That's Shudokan Karate Club here in Springfield. Check them out. ShudokanKarateSpringfield.com. We're going to get right to our guest after the break.
When I first walked into Shudokan Karate Club, I was just looking for a way to get stronger, but what I found was so much more. Here we train in traditional karate, the real stuff, passed down through generations. Every punch, every kata has purpose. I've learned self-discipline, confidence, and how to protect myself. Not just in class, but in real life. It's not about being aggressive, it's about being prepared. This is more than a club, it's a way of life. Join us at Shudokan, traditional, powerful, real. Ki.
All right, and we are back for another edition of the Wellness Upgrade, brought to you by Shudokan Karate Club. Go check out Sensei Dennis and the entire team out on Bradfordton Road. No matter what the age, they're going to have a class for you. Fitness, discipline, community, and fun. Hey, joining me in the studio now, familiar face, Miss Kyleigh Melvin. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us again. Remind everybody what you do.
I'm a board-certified natural wellness practitioner and clinical herbalist with the Primitive Prairie.
All right. Well, today's topic, gut health.
Yes.
That's a big one. That's a big one, a broad one. There's a lot of stuff that can fit into that one. So,
I could go on for a while.
All right.
I'll try to simplify.
Well, let's dig in. Let's talk about some of the basic stuff then.
All right. So this is important to me because a lot of times people will come to me over something as simple as like, what do you have for my skin? I have eczema. And then I have to turn around and be like, well, let's talk about your gut health.
Right.
When somebody comes to me and says their kid has ADHD, they're like, what could I do naturally at home? I turn to gut health. We've recently done a podcast on antibiotics, and a lot of that destroys your gut health. So when you hear that, a lot of people are, like, what does that entail? And when I say it entails pretty much everything in your body, I mean that. So your gut houses most of your immune system. A lot of people don't know that. If you think of how your body works, it's going to place immune cells where it's going to come into contact with bad stuff. So you have like your tonsils are a huge part of your immune system if you still have those. And then your gut is just lined. Your digestive tract is just lined with immune cells. So your immune system's in your gut. And then you have your enteric nervous system. And a lot of people have no clue about this. Easy way to put it is that this is like your second brain. It has as many neurons as your spinal cord. This is when you hear people, I always heard people say the gut-brain axis. And I'm like, what are they just like throwing things out there? Like, what?
Right.
This is a real thing. So the gut-brain axis is your vagus nerve. I don't know if you've heard of that. I think a lot of people have. So that is a little pathway, and it's bidirectional. So your gut communicates with your brain, and your brain communicates with your gut. So like when I wrote about this in my blog, I think I even called it a gut feeling, because you have that like fight or flight response, and you instantly kind of feel like a pit in your stomach. I mean, it's a real thing. It is related. So in that enteric nervous system, you have 95% of your body's serotonin production. I've heard people say, after around antibiotics, you'll be depressed. You have like a higher rate of depression for the next year, or anxiety for the next year. This all has to do with that enteric nervous system. So with your serotonin, that then turns into melatonin production. So that's going to mess up your sleep cycle. Mm-hmm. So this is all a huge deal. How involved this all is. Well, let's see. We have your microbiome in your gut, which keeps you healthy. We have your enteric nervous system. We have all of this going on in our gut, your immune system. And a lot of people don't know that all is, they just think it digests food, which is important too. But when your gut is in balance, when your gut microbiome, that little ecosystem we've talked about before, this perfect little microbiome of all these different bacteria are thriving, they're keeping all of those systems in balance. When that's out of balance, you are going to start seeing like chronic inflammation, leaky gut, IBS. And yes, with that gut-brain axis, you might start seeing anxiety, depression. Mm-hmm. So this is all related. And that's why it's so important to me for people to repair, heal, and protect their digestive system.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You mentioned the eczema earlier, and then you went straight to the guts. What typically happens there? Why would you go to the gut? What are they eating that could be causing that eczema?
All right. So this is going to go back to, you might see this in kids who have been on many rounds of antibiotics, as we've talked about before. There is also I believe they call it the gut-skin axis. So you have that as well. And when anything's out of balance, and it's hard to say, it's like, how do you balance all this bacteria? Mm-hmm. You just need a diverse population of the good bacteria. And as we talked about before, if you're eating, unhealthy diets, mm-hmm. If you're eating processed food, they even say after antibiotics to try to avoid like meat that has antibiotics in it. You're just like making things worse at that point. But the thing is antibiotics, as we said before, like a brush fire on your gut. So once that happens, especially with kids, you will see that they've lost all this good bacteria too, and it'll start showing in their skin. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I tell people, okay, let's take it back. Let's maybe, I know in the past we've talked about like my kid detoxes. Those are not some crazy parasite detox. A lot of times they just support your digestive tract. Mm-hmm. And then it has like a mild antiparasitic, but it does help. Those are some like bitter herbs that are really good for repairing, because you also need to repair your gut after you have a bout of, and it could even just be the stomach flu, but anything that's going to cause a major imbalance suddenly is going to disrupt everything. Mm-hmm.
So you talked about leaky gut, IBS, all those things. Yeah. What is leaky gut, first off? What are people experiencing?
So that is actually like your intestines are more permeable. Mm-hmm. So toxins can get into your bloodstream. Okay. So that is kind of a big deal to me.
Yeah, I would say that's a big deal. Yeah. So is that reversible through diet and through getting your microbiome back in shape?
Okay, so I'll address, because all of these things need to kind of be repaired or, attempt to repair them in the same way. I guess it would depend on how bad it is. Mm-hmm. But in holistic medicine, they have the 3 R's of fixing your gut. Okay. So there is replace, re-inoculate, and then repair. And I feel like sometimes when people have chronic IBS, they have not done enough of the re-inoculate and repair first, and now they're left with like this damage. Yeah. But so what you'll want to do is you're going to want to, and we've talked about this before, but eat as many diverse bacteria, kefir, kombucha, yogurts, as much fermented food, or take a probiotic if you do your research and find a really good one. And then you can start looking at prebiotic type foods. But the repairing is when I usually have people coming to me. They're at this point of like, what do I do? I'm having these stomach aches and stomach cramps. Right. And so I have like a belly tincture and a belly tea. And what those usually have are what are called demulcent herbs. And that's going to be like slippery elm, marshmallow root, licorice root. There's all these parts of your digestive tract. It's a huge area. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to try to get rid of that chronic inflammation. That's going to cause most of your symptoms right away. Then those demulcent herbs, they will actually kind of help the lining repair itself. So That's going to give this like smooth coating to the lining, kind of try to repair it that way. And then just keep eating bitter herbs. That would be like dandelion root, burdock root. So I will actually combine all of those. And that's something I'll tell people to take with dinner. And then if it's past the point of like repairing, I would like to think that will help with their symptoms at least, so they're comfortable after they eat, because that's the issue is they're like, I'm in so much pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
you said demulcent.
yes.
Is that a family of herbs or what is that?
So
I don't know
I
what
know,
that
and
means.
some of these just apply, and that's okay because, you know, a lot of this just applies to herbs. There's like this own little herbal lingo. So demulcent means it is going to, usually it has to do with lining. It's like a mucosal barrier. So like if you have strep throat, I would recommend those herbs, something to bring moisture back to an area that's irritated. And that has a lot to do with healing your gut, is bringing moisture back, because that barrier is usually damaged. So I did that.
That helps.
Okay,
that definitely helps. That made complete sense. I was just like, well, I don't know if demulcent means it's a type of herb, or if it's what it does.
It is what it does. Yes, it is like the action of the herb. So that is what it does.
Okay. So when people call you with some of these issues, and what do you walk through with them to figure out what you may need to do to help them?
So a good example is just the other day, I'm just going to go with the most recent one. Just the other day, somebody reached out with a child with ADHD, and she is doing things at home, cutting the dye. And she's like, what else could I do? And I was like, let's look at the gut. And we talked about cutting out processed food first and foremost. I'm taking it back to the basics. And when I'm healing, especially with kids, the gut, I say like, let's cut dairy and let's cut cheese for a while. Just cut it back. I know it's hard. And if you can't do it all the way, but let's try to cut some of that back. We're going to want to look at things that are not inflammatory foods. And even if that means just, getting out your phone and being like, what are some foods that are anti-inflammatory? That will help. And then just push fermented foods, even if you have to sneak it in there. And then kind of start from scratch. Pumpkin seeds, like make some little trail mix for them. Yeah. But that's where I'll start, is just easy tips, because I feel like if you overwhelm a person, they're more likely to just ditch it altogether. They're going to be like, this is too much for me. And I don't want them to be scared of taking this with I want it to be a journey. And it's hard to have kids this day and age with doctors telling you one thing and your gut telling you to do this. And I feel like you can start educating your kids like, hey, we're going to cut this because it's not good for your belly, but I made you a fun snack and I put this in here, and it's make it fun for them, let them be involved. But that's my first step. And a lot of those bitter herbs I talked about, like help with inflammation, they are easy to put in food and they're safe. So like burdock root, that is a vegetable in India. Like they eat that like we eat potatoes. So it's like they can have burdock root as much as they want. You could sneak it in their food. But I always think it's good to kind of explain to your kid what you're doing, because then they will learn to live like that too.
Yeah. We've talked about that a number of times.
Yes,
teaching them to where they will actually, they're going to make the decision on their own to do that. And they want to do that.
They want to. You're not giving them like a complex about their diet. They're seeing how it feeds their body. But that's usually the steps I take first. I try to make it digestible and like, let's talk about cutting this, and this, and some sugar. And like I said, ADHD is a very deep thing. I mean, there's genetic components, but I always tell people the gut can really make some of that work. Like, let's start at the gut. You might see a little bit of a reaction from cutting this in the gut. You might see a little difference in their behavior. So we always start there. And I think it's usually a pretty doable thing for parents.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah. No, I mean, the skin thing, when my diet is clean, when my nutrition is clean, I really don't have any skin issues. Yeah. But I can tell if I don't have a really clean diet and some stuff's in there, then I start getting little patches or dryness, a little eczema that I used to have as a kid growing up, like we talked about when, always ate junk.
Or a round of antibiotics. Like I said, you'll see it a lot in the little ones that have had a lot of antibiotics. So, but diet is another huge one. And you, as adults, if you look at your life, you've been chronically eating like this for so long, or just eating the same type of food. You don't have a diverse microbiome in your gut anymore. So I think it's very common. I think most people have some sort of gut issue, sadly. But you can usually catch it early enough. That's why when you ask me if you can repair it, I guess it would depend on the stage you're in at that point. and I don't have the capabilities to like scope your digest. But
Right.
I would like to think you can try to at least lessen the effects of that or heal it.
Mm-hmm.
So
No doubt about it. Now, you mentioned and you touched on it briefly about, sometimes when you're a parent, you go to the doctor and they're saying one thing, you're like,
that is so hard. Yeah.
yeah. So, and do you hear that a lot, or parents
A
are coming
lot.
to you? It's like, I just don't think that's right. I'd rather do.
Yeah, so much that I feel like I should be getting a kickback from my pediatrician because I send everybody to him. He's amazing.
Right.
But I have been in their shoes. I've had different pediatricians. I've had them give me this look like, and I'm one that I will pull pediatric journals and I will read the journals they're reading to get through school. And I don't have my doctorate in pediatric medicine. I try to show them respect, but I get that a lot. Like, my doctor said this. And so I just I want to work with doctors. I want to be like, this is what I think you should do. Take it to your doctor and discuss.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them to think I'm like saying their doctor is a bad person, but this day and age, I feel bad for doctors because it's like everybody like suing everybody,
Yeah.
So it's
no
like
doubt about it.
sometimes you just have to wonder how much they're trying to like cover themselves to protect themselves, but all the time, especially moms,
Mhm.
especially moms.
Yeah. No, I could
It's
imagine.
a hard place to be in with your kid because you're like, I'm worried about what they're taking. And then you turn around and you see the commercial on the medication and it's like, if you took this, you may be eligible for a settlement. It's like, oh no. Like, what-
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Right.
but it's with everything, weigh the pros and cons, trust your gut, and then sit down and talk to your doctor about your feelings. And if you have a good doctor, they will hear you out. They will meet you halfway. If not, change doctors until
that's what you got to do.
because they should be caring about your concerns,
No doubt about
Yeah.
it. Well, Kyleigh, you probably already said them, but let's leave the audience with your top 2 gut health tips. 2 things they could start doing today for better gut health.
All right. Number 1, obviously with me, is cut processed food. I never expect anybody to do something 100% because that's a lot on people. Like, I get you're on a road trip and you want some McDonald's, but let's try to like cut it by like 90%. And then introduce your kids to real food. I say kids because they're not going to be with you forever. Introduce your family, your loved ones to real food, diverse foods, fermented foods. Those are the 2 things you could really do to just set it up for success right there off the bat.
All right. Well, Kyleigh, remind everybody where they can find you.
All right. I'm on Facebook at The Primitive Prairie, Instagram at The Primitive Prairie, and www.theprimitiveprairie.com.
There you go. Well, appreciate it as always.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. We're going to let Kyleigh get back to elevating Springfield, but for the rest of y'all, we'll be right back. Hey, Springfield, when it comes to reliable, high-quality roofing, you don't want to leave things to chance. That's why you should reach out to Acosta Angeli Roofing, your local roofing expert, serving Springfield and surrounding communities. From quick, dependable repairs to full replacement, from residential to commercial, they are your trusted pros. Call them today at 217-993-2748 or visit their website to book your free quote and inspection. Don't wait. A little leak now could lead to major damage later. Trust the local experts, protect your home, and get peace of mind with Acosta Angeli Roofing. Well, thank you for joining us today, everybody. Appreciate you making us a part of your day. Hope you're enjoying these quick hits of actionable strategies here on the Wellness Upgrade on Elevate Springfield. Thank you again to Shudokan Karate Club. Hey, take what you learned today. You bring the discipline and follow through, and together, that's right, y'all, we're going to elevate Springfield. Be great. Looking for expert tree care with hometown integrity? Look no further than Sangamon Tree Service. They're your trusted local pros, delivering quality workmanship, exceptional customer service, and fair, honest pricing every time. Whether it's trimming, removal, or storm cleanup, their team brings professionalism and care to every job, big or small. Call the name your neighbors trust, Sangamon Tree Service, or visit them today at sangamontreeservice.com. Sangamon Tree Service, rooted in quality, built on trust.